Hey, good morning. This video is about trust and about following your heart. And I hope you'll watch all the way to the end. And I really hope that it'll change your life. Just a little bit. No pressure though. So the reason I wanted to talk about trust is because I've had this idea in my head, kind of like a message that's just on replay. And it's not constant, but it comes out every now and then about trust me. And in my comment with this video, I wrote, "You don't know who I am. You have no reason to trust me, but trust me." And for me, that's very much part of my faith, right? Where I attribute the good things in my life to God. And other people don't, and that's cool. Some people are like, oh, it was fate, it was destiny. And other people are just like, oh, that was cool. And that's good too. Whatever you believe, go for it. For me, this idea of following your heart, and I have a friend who quit his corporate job and started a company called Follow Your Bliss. And he's doing it, he's living the dream life, and he's happy, and he's successful, and it's just like, wow, good job, dude. And so recently I saw this story, and I wanted to retell it real quick, because it was so powerful, and it just really resonated with me and with this message, so I'll throw it in here. So this story takes place in Poland during World War II, and for those familiar with world history, that was a dark time. So it starts off with a mother, a woman, wearing a very expensive looking, fancy fur coat, and her belongings are taken from her. She's pushed to the ground, in trouble, and two other ladies start to fight over her stuff. And there's gold and jewelry and diamonds and all this fancy stuff. And then after they've taken all that, right, they realize, hey, this coat is kind of heavier than a regular coat. Maybe there's something hidden inside. And so they open it up, they investigate a little bit, and there's a baby hidden in the coat. And so the one lady tells the other lady, I was never able to have children. You take the gold and diamonds. Let me have the baby. And so they agreed, right? And so she took the baby home to her husband, didn't tell him, the whole backstory, and, they lived happily ever after type thing. And the baby had a gold necklace on her. And then years later, the lady passes away, and one of the people who comes to visit the daughter, all grown up, tells her that wasn't your real mom. And she's like, what? What are you talking about? And she tells her, I was there, in that you had a necklace. And she said, I bet your mother kept it, and that you're Jewish. And this is really meaningful for me because I'm Jewish, and the Holocaust it's heavy. And so, so the girl finds this necklace, this gold necklace, and it has some writing on it, and the person told her, I bet that's Hebrew writing. Like, I don't know how to read it, but I bet it's Hebrew because you're Jewish. And so shortly after, the girl sees, the war's over many years later. Girl's a doctor, a pediatrician. She sees some boys just advertising, religion and the Jewish religion. And so she asked them, like, hey, do you know what this necklace says? Like, I think I might be Jewish, and tells them the story. And they said, yes, it's a Jewish word. And they tell her, we don't know how to help you, but you should contact our rabbi. And so she does. She writes him a letter, because back then snail mail was a thing. No email, no cell phones in the 50s. So she writes him a letter, and he writes back. And he invites her to go be a pediatrician in Israel, where they're really, really needed, where good pediatricians are really, really needed. So she goes. And she gets married, she has a family, living her life, found her roots, her birth mom who passed away, her Jewish, identity. And then there's an attack, because if anybody's familiar with the Middle East, there's bombings. It is not safe because of all the hate in the world. And I have family in Israel, so that's really heavy for me too. And so there's a bombing, and she goes to help, because she's a doctor. And there's a man there that she's treating. He's just asking about his granddaughter. And he describes this necklace that his granddaughter was wearing. So they find the granddaughter. The doctor looks at the necklace, and it's like, I have a necklace like that. And she asks him, where did you buy that necklace? And he said, I didn't buy it. It's one of a kind. He said, I'm a goldsmith, and I made matching ones for my 2 daughters. I guess he had 2 baby daughters. And he said, one of my daughters didn't survive the war, but the other one did. And she gave it to her daughter. So that's the story about how, through this seemingly random turn of events, years and years and years later, a tiny little baby girl who didn't even know she was Jewish was reunited with her father. And just reading that story, through random scrolling, and just thinking about, wow, I bet that when that girl's mom passed, and it was probably a very dark time in her life, and some crazy old lady told her that wasn't her real mom. Like, can you imagine somebody you never knew any different, like her whole life thrown upside down? And so she looked for the necklace, right? She wrote the letter to the rabbi. She went to Israel, totally uprooted her life, her career, to move to another country. She had the courage to ask him, where did you buy that necklace? And look what happened. And to me, it just really reinforced that message of follow your heart. If something is nudging you to do, stop denying it and just do it. Because for me, I write poetry, and apparently I'm good at it, and I'm not trying to brag or anything, but other people have told me this year over and over again how it's a gift, and how they're not capable, and they're impressed that I can just rhyme on the spot and write something amazing. And when I was in first grade, we had a unit on poetry. Well, I guess I had anxiety even back then, before the world knew what anxiety was a thing. And I started going to the nurse's office, and they started calling my mom to pick me up because I had a stomach ache. This was, before my Crohn's, before my IBD. So I had a stomach ache every day for a week at the same time of day. When I got home, I was fine. So my mom's a smart lady, She figured me out. She stopped picking me up. This tough love, boomer style. And she stopped picking me up, and she was like, something's going on here. We got to figure this out. This girl, I don't know what's going on. But so she told the nurse, she was like, only call me if there's like an absolute emergency. She was like, she's fine when she gets home, like, you know, she's not really sick. And so through, you know, my mom's kind of tough love, we figured out that I was afraid of poetry. And so I was claiming a stomach ache. And maybe I really had a stomach ache because of the nerves, I don't know. But I was getting out of that, you know, and she made me face my fear. And a few years later, in 4th grade, I actually wrote a poem about the Holocaust. And it was for a contest at my synagogue. And it won a prize. It won first place. Guess what the prize was for Shy, Quiet Little Mousy Golly? I got to read my winning poem in front of the whole congregation, like probably like 100 people. And I'm just like, oh my God, that is not a prize. Why did you make me do this, Mom? Like, I really don't want to do this. And they really felt like that poem needed to be shared. Like, it was so powerful. And the poem was called Imagine. And it was just about putting yourself mentally into that situation, seeing that history through the eyes of the children. Imagine being a kid in that time. Just banned from everything and not understanding why. So my sister encouraged me. She said, you know, oh, this is a big deal. This is cool. What if I go with you? Will you read your poem if I go with you? And we'll alternate. I'll read one line, you read the next, and back and forth. And she did that for me. She's always supportive. And guess what? I don't know how many years later we are. A lot of years later. And something called me to start putting poetry on Facebook. To write. Get out of my fear. Push past it. Write and share. And I've gotten so much support and encouragement. And I even self-published a book. And people are like, keep going, keep sharing your message, it matters. And so I am. And so today the message is, trust me. You maybe don't know me, you maybe don't know God, but there is something in your heart that is tugging on you, that is calling you. Trust it. See what happens. You know, yeah, it's scary. Yeah, there's risk. But there are so many good things that are waiting. I can't even imagine this baby girl, this grown-up pediatrician in the story. I bet she had no idea that her dad was alive. And I bet he had absolutely no idea that she was. Because she followed her heart. They found each other. So amazing things can happen when you follow your heart. I'm not selling anything. I'm not trying to get you to buy anything or click anything. Just whatever that means to you, trust me. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching.